You think your behavior is harmless, but every public move exposes rank, weakness, and leverage. The wrong. Signal marks you prey in a hierarchy you pretend doesn't exist. You walk into public spaces thinking you are entering neutral ground. A cafe, an office, a gym, a family gathering, a comment section. You believe these are social environments. They are not. They are arenas. Every room is structured by hierarchy, not declared, not voted on, observed, calculated, felt. The moment you enter, assessment begins. Who stands upright? Who speaks slowly? Who interrupts? Who apologizes? Who seeks permission? Who commands space without asking for it? You think people are too busy to evaluate you. They are not. The human brain is a ranking machine. It has been for thousands of years. Long before corporate ladders and social media metrics, there was tribal selection. Dominance, survival. You are being scanned for signals. Confidence or compensation. Calm or volatility. Control or hunger. Abundance or desperation. And here is the truth you resist. Most men disqualify themselves within minutes. Not because they lack intelligence. Not because they lack skill. But because they display behaviors that leak internal instability. Public space is not about authenticity. It is about containment. The naive man believes visibility equals opportunity. The strategic man knows visibility equals exposure. Every word you overshare becomes data. Every emotional reaction becomes leverage. Every nervous laugh lowers perceived rank. You imagine that people judge you morally. They don't. They judge you structurally. Can you be relied on under pressure? Will you fracture? Do you need validation? Are you stable enough to follow? Dangerous enough to respect? Hierarchy forms around answers to those questions. You were not taught this. You were taught to be yourself, to express your feelings, to speak your truth. That language is domestication. It makes you predictable. And predictability in a competitive environment is weakness. Watch powerful men carefully. They are rarely loud, rarely reactive, rarely rushed. They do not fill silence. They do not explain themselves unless strategically necessary. They do not leak emotion without purpose. Why? Because they understand the arena. The average man treats public life like a living room, casual, emotional, loose. The high-ranking man treats it like a chessboard. Every movement either improves position or weakens it. And here is the uncomfortable inversion. Being liked is not the same as being respected. In fact, the behaviors that generate quick likability often destroy long-term authority. Oversharing creates familiarity. Familiarity erodes mystique. Lack of mystique invites testing. Once you are tested and fail publicly, your rank drops. And rank, once lowered, is difficult to recover. Public perception compounds. One display of instability becomes a story. That story becomes a label. That label becomes your ceiling. He's emotional. He talks too much. He's trying too hard. He's insecure. These judgments are rarely spoken to your face. They circulate silently, and they shape opportunities you never receive. You think life is meritocratic. It is not purely so. Perception filters access to merit. This chapter is not about paranoia. It is about awareness. You are not encouraged to be silent out of fear. You are commanded to be disciplined out of strategy. The arena does not reward expression. It rewards control. Control of voice. Control of face. Control of timing. Control of information. When you lack control, you bleed signals. And the predators of hierarchy, whether in business, politics, dating, or social groups are not looking for strength to attack. They are looking for instability to exploit. The first shift you must make is this: public life is performance, not therapy. It is positioning, not purging. It is calculation, not confession. If you still believe you can behave casually without consequence, you are already behind. Because while you relax, others are measuring. While you joke, others are ranking. While you vent, others are memorizing. You are always broadcasting. The only question is whether you are broadcasting power or weakness. Status is rarely lost in one dramatic collapse. It erodes through micro-leaks. A sigh at the wrong time. A defensive explanation. A nervous laugh after a challenge. A need to clarify that you are not like that. You think these are harmless behaviors. They are not harmless. They are data. Human beings are wired to detect instability, not consciously structurally. Your tone, posture, pacing, and emotional control transmit more information than your words ever will. And once instability is detected, your position shifts. The first mechanism is validation hunger. When you need agreement, you speak differently. Your voice rises at the end of sentences. You over-explain. You soften strong opinions. You look for nods. You fill silence because silence feels like rejection. But silence is only threatening to men who fear being ignored. Powerful men allow silence to sit. They are not racing to secure approval. They are comfortable being misunderstood temporarily. Why? Because their internal authority does not depend on external applause. The moment you seek reassurance publicly, you announce dependence. And dependence lowers rank. The second mechanism is emotional transparency without control. You were trained to believe emotional openness equals strength. That narrative works in therapy rooms. It fails in competitive environments. When you react impulsively, anger, excitement, insecurity, you show others where to press. If praise makes you overeager, you can be manipulated with compliments. If criticism rattles you, you can be steered with doubt. If exclusion unsettles you, you can be controlled with access. Your emotional triggers are entry points. The ruthless observer is not impressed by your feelings. He is mapping them. The third mechanism is excessive accessibility. Always available. Always responsive. Always ready to explain. You think this signals reliability. It often signals low leverage. Scarcity creates perceived value. Accessibility creates assumption. When you answer instantly, speak constantly, and reveal freely, you remove friction. Without friction, there is no weight. Without weight, there is no authority. Authority is partly constructed through distance, not arrogance. Distance. The fourth mechanism is reactivity under challenge. Watch what happens when someone questions you publicly. Do you rush to defend? Do you interrupt? Do you attempt humor to deflect? Do you escalate emotionally? The dominant man does something different. He slows down. He lets the question hang. He responds surgically. Or he chooses not to respond at all. Restraint under pressure signals internal stability. Reactivity signals fragility. Hierarchy is not determined by who speaks the most. It is determined by who remains composed when tension rises. The fifth mechanism is over-identification with image. When your identity depends on appearing smart, successful, moral, or strong, you become brittle. Every threat to that image feels existential. So you posture, you exaggerate, you perform. And performance without foundation smells artificial. The predator in the room senses this. He sees the gap between who you are and who you're trying to appear as. That gap is where dominance games begin. Here is the brutal reality. Most men are not defeated by stronger opponents. They are defeated by their own unmanaged signals. Your mind may be sharp. Your skills may be valuable. But if your behavioral signals communicate instability, your ceiling is capped. The room does not reward potential. It rewards composure. It rewards those who speak less than they know, reveal less than they feel, react slower than they want, depend on no one's approval. You must understand this clearly. Perception forms faster than reputation. And once perception solidifies, it filters everything you do afterward. If the room categorizes you as emotionally reactive, every future display of confidence will be viewed as compensation. If the room categorizes you as approval-seeking, every strong statement will look like insecurity. The initial signal matters, and signals are behavioral, not verbal. You cannot out-argue a weak frame. You cannot debate your way out of low status. You must stop leaking it in the first place. The battlefield is subtle. The damage is quiet. The consequences are long-term. The average man works on skills. The strategic man works on signals. Until you control what you emit unconsciously, you will always fight uphill in rooms you believe are neutral. They are not neutral. They are calibrated. You think behavior is random. It is not. It follows patterns. In every room, corporate, social, political, certain male archetypes appear again and again. They sabotage themselves predictably, not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack discipline. You must identify them. More importantly, you must ensure you are not one of them. 1. The explicable. This man cannot tolerate misunderstanding. If someone misinterprets him, he rushes to clarify. If someone challenges him, he provides paragraphs. If someone jokes at his expense, he corrects the narrative. He believes transparency builds respect. It doesn't. Every additional explanation lowers perceived authority. Leaders issue statements. They don't negotiate their frame in real time. The explicable reveals fear of misperception. Fear equals lower rank. Powerful men allow others to misunderstand them temporarily. Confusion creates distance. Distance creates intrigue. Intrigue creates gravity. The explicable has none. 2. The emotional reactor. This archetype is controlled by stimulus. A slight triggers visible irritation. A compliment triggers visible eagerness. A disagreement triggers raised volume or defensive posture. He thinks passion signals strength. In competitive environments, emotional volatility signals manipulability. The calm man is harder to move. The reactive man is easy to steer. Predators test this archetype, subtly interrupting him, questioning him, dismissing him lightly. If he flinches, they escalate. If he remains stable, they recalibrate. Most men fail the test within seconds. 3. The entertainer. He wants the room to like him. So he performs. He adds humor constantly. He exaggerates stories. He fills silence with personality. He confuses attention with authority. Attention is loud. Authority is quiet. The entertainer is useful, but never feared. He becomes social currency, not structural power. When decisions are made behind closed doors, he is absent, because gravity does not laugh for validation. 4. The overconfessor. This one mistakes vulnerability for credibility. He shares struggles too freely. He speaks about weaknesses without containment. He exposes internal doubts publicly. He believes authenticity builds trust. In neutral spaces, perhaps. In competitive spaces, it builds targeting maps. Information about your insecurities is leverage. Even if no one uses it immediately, it is stored. The overconfessor disarms himself voluntarily. 5. The immediate responder. Instant replies. Instant reactions. Instant emotional shifts. He thinks speed equals competence. Often, speed equals urgency, and urgency signals need. The high-status individual controls tempo. He does not match the room's pace, he sets it. Deliberate pauses create psychological pressure. Instant reactions release it. Control of tempo is control of frame. 6. The moral performer. This archetype signals virtue publicly. He overemphasizes fairness. He overstates loyalty. He performs integrity loudly. But public morality displays are often subconscious bids for validation. True power does not advertise its ethics. It enforces its boundaries. When you publicly broadcast your principles, you expose your pressure points. People now know exactly how to corner you. The moral performer is predictable. Predictability reduces leverage. Understand this clearly. These archetypes are not different types of men. They are different survival strategies formed in adolescence, attempts to secure approval, safety, or belonging. But what protected you at 15 weakens you at 30. Public space is not a classroom. It is a dominance hierarchy. Men who fail to adapt their behavioral strategies remain stuck in outdated defense mechanisms. The ruthless truth? Most public humiliation is self-inflicted, not because someone attacked, but because someone revealed instability first. Here is the shift. Instead of asking, "How do I appear impressive?" you must ask, "Where am I leaking position?" Instead of trying to dominate verbally, you eliminate behaviors that automatically subordinate you. Dominance is subtraction before addition. Remove the explicable. Remove the reactor. Remove the performer. Remove the confessor. Remove the urgent responder. Remove the moral exhibitionist. What remains is controlled silence, selective speech, calibrated emotion. And that is harder to destabilize. Most men try to climb hierarchy by doing more. The strategic man climbs by revealing less. The room does not need to know everything about you. It only needs to feel that you are not easily moved. When that feeling forms, the power dynamic shifts subtly, and subtle shifts compound. You assume people are neutral observers. They are not. Every social environment contains silent evaluators. They are not loud. They are not emotional. They are scanning for instability, for insecurity, for exploitable patterns. Public space is a testing ground. Most men believe humiliation happens through aggression. In reality, it happens through exposure. Let me explain the mechanism. When you display one of the forbidden behaviors, over-explaining, reacting emotionally, signaling virtue, chasing validation, you are not just expressing yourself. You are providing data. And data is leverage. The microtests you never notice. High-level operators rarely attack directly. They test. A slight interruption. A subtle contradiction. A dismissive glance. A delayed reply. They watch your reaction. Do you rush to defend your point? Do you adjust your tone to regain approval? Do you overcompensate with humor? Do you tense visibly? Every reaction answers a question. How easy are you to move? The man who reacts immediately becomes predictable. The man who remains still becomes dangerous. Because stillness denies information. And information asymmetry is power. History never rewarded the transparent. Look at courts, empires, corporations. Public composure was currency. In royal courts, a misplaced emotional reaction could mean exile. In modern boardrooms, it means silent exclusion. The mechanism hasn't changed, only the consequences have been softened. But the hierarchy remains. Leaders are those who absorb pressure without leakage. If you reveal irritation, your opponent knows where to press. If you reveal insecurity, they know what to question. If you reveal desperation for approval, they know exactly how to control you. Public weakness doesn't need to be attacked immediately. It only needs to be remembered. And remembered weaknesses compound over time. Human nature is not moral, it is positional. You were taught that sincerity builds trust. In personal relationships sometimes. In competitive structures, sincerity without containment is exposure. Humans instinctively rank each other. This is not ideology. It is evolutionary psychology. In any group, who controls emotional tone? Who controls tempo? Who speaks last? Who does not rush to clarify? These subtle signals determine perceived rank more than talent does. The man who needs approval will unconsciously negotiate his own authority away. The man who does not need approval forces others to negotiate upward. That difference defines long-term leverage. Public weakness attracts predators, not cartoon villains. Strategists. Some individuals are trained through business, politics, or survival to identify exploitable personalities quickly. They look for overeagerness, defensive language, excessive justification, emotional volatility, moral rigidity. These traits signal pressure points. A morally rigid man can be cornered through ethical dilemmas. An approval-seeking man can be baited with praise. An emotional man can be provoked into self-destruction. You don't lose power because someone stronger attacks you. You lose power because you reveal how to be attacked. The slow collapse. Public hierarchy shifts rarely happen in a single dramatic moment. They happen quietly. You speak too much in meetings. You over-explain one idea. You react defensively once. You apologize unnecessarily. No one confronts you, but perception adjusts. You are no longer the stable axis. You are now variable. And in dominance hierarchies, variability lowers perceived rank. Once rank drops, regaining it is exponentially harder. Because perception solidifies. Here is the brutal inversion. The world does not reward honesty. It rewards control. It does not reward openness. It rewards containment. It does not reward emotional transparency. It rewards emotional discipline. Public spaces are not confession booths. They are arenas. And arenas do not forgive instability. The predator's advantage exists because most men reveal themselves without realizing it. You were trained to express. You were not trained to withhold. And withholding strategically is sovereignty. The question is no longer whether people judge you. They do. The question is whether you understand the game well enough to stop handing them weapons. You don't fix this with confidence. You fix it with architecture. Most men attempt to act stronger. They adjust posture. They lower their voice. They rehearse dominance in the mirror. Surface corrections. But public power is not posture. It is internal containment. You need a new operating system. 1. Replace expression with observation. The first shift is simple and brutal. Speak less. Watch more. In any public setting, meeting, gathering, negotiation, your primary task is not contribution. It is mapping. Who interrupts? Who defers? Who laughs too quickly? Who seeks approval from whom? Who controls tempo? Before you try to assert yourself, you study structure. Predators do not announce themselves. They assess terrain. When you speak too early, you give away position. When you observe first, you gather leverage. Silence is not weakness. Silence is reconnaissance. 2. Control tempo. Power is often misread as volume. It is not. It is pacing. The most dominant individual in a room rarely rushes. He pauses before responding. He finishes thoughts without speeding up. He does not chase attention. Rushing signals anxiety, and anxiety signals vulnerability. If someone challenges you publicly, slow down. If someone interrupts, let the silence stretch before continuing. If someone provokes, respond minimally. Speed is reactive. Deliberate pacing is sovereign. Tempo control shifts psychological gravity toward you. 3. Eliminate unnecessary explanation. Explanation is often disguised submission. When you overclarify your intentions, you are negotiating acceptance. High-ranking individuals assume legitimacy. They state. They do not plead. This does not mean arrogance. It means compression. Short answers. Minimal justification. No defensive language. The more you explain, the more you imply doubt. Doubt lowers rank instantly. Precision elevates it. 4. Master emotional neutrality. You were trained to show authenticity. In competitive environments, neutrality is armor. If you are praised, do not inflate. If you are criticized, do not fracture. If you are ignored, do not chase. The goal is not emotional suppression. The goal is emotional discipline. Your face should not leak internal calculations. Your tone should not fluctuate with validation. When others cannot read you, they hesitate. And hesitation creates advantage. 5. Strategic scarcity. Attention is currency. Most men spend it recklessly. They respond immediately. They volunteer excessively. They attempt to be useful constantly. Scarcity increases perceived value. Do not always be available. Do not always comment. Do not always react. When your presence is consistent but not overexposed, it gains weight. Predictability lowers leverage. Measured visibility increases it. 6. Build internal validation infrastructure. This is the structural shift. If you still need applause, these behaviors will collapse under pressure. You must replace external validation with internal command. Set private standards. Measure yourself privately. Approve yourself privately. When criticism arrives, it will not destabilize you. When praise arrives, it will not intoxicate you, because neither defines you. Men who require external validation cannot hold public power. They become manipulable. Internal sovereignty is non-negotiable. 7. Strategic withholding. Not every thought deserves air. Not every plan requires disclosure. Not every strength should be displayed early. Withholding creates uncertainty. Uncertainty forces others to calculate around you. If they cannot predict your moves, they cannot easily position against you. Transparency is for alliances you have verified. Containment is for public arenas. Here is the uncomfortable truth. The version of you that was encouraged to be open, expressive, and constantly agreeable was easy to manage. The version you are building now will feel colder, more reserved, less explainable, less reactive. That discomfort is growth, because power requires compression. Public environments reward those who manage perception deliberately, not those who leak authenticity impulsively. You are not becoming antisocial. You are becoming controlled. And control is the foundation of sovereignty. The question is no longer whether you will be judged. You will. The question is whether you will design how you are perceived or let others do it for you. The man you have been performing as cannot survive in competitive environments. He was designed for acceptance. He was optimized for approval. He was trained to be liked. And liked men are manageable men. This chapter is not about improvement. It is about execution. 1. The death of the approval seeker. The approval seeker is subtle. He disguises himself as the good communicator, the transparent leader, the authentic friend, the emotionally intelligent man, but beneath every version is the same dependency. Do they accept me? As long as that question governs your nervous system, you are not sovereign. You are outsourced. You scan faces for feedback. You adjust mid-sentence. You soften strong positions. That is not social skill. That is behavioral submission. To rise, that identity must be dismantled, not suppressed, destroyed. 2. Public persona versus core self. There is a lie modern culture feeds you. Just be yourself. Incorrect. Be strategic. Your core self is private infrastructure. Your public persona is a controlled interface. High-ranking individuals do not expose raw internal processing publicly. They reveal curated layers, controlled fragments, strategic versions. This is not deception. This is containment. If everyone has unrestricted access to your emotional state, you have no defensive perimeter. Sovereignty requires boundaries. Boundaries require selective exposure. 3. Emotional detachment as tactical superiority. When you stop needing approval, something shifts. You become difficult to pressure, difficult to manipulate, difficult to destabilize. Because most public control mechanisms rely on emotional triggers: embarrassment, praise, social exclusion, public disagreement. If those stimuli no longer control you, you become structurally resilient. Detachment is not coldness. It is insulation. A man who can stand in public tension without flinching immediately gains gravity. Gravity attracts alignment. 4. The shift from performance to position. Previously, you tried to perform strength. Now you occupy position. Performance is reactive. Position is assumed. Performance seeks recognition. Position assumes legitimacy. The shift is internal. You stop trying to prove competence. You behave as if competence is already established. You stop defending every criticism. You allow weak attacks to dissolve. You stop competing for visibility. You let scarcity amplify perception. You are no longer acting powerful. You are structurally unmoved. That difference is visible without words. 5. Isolation as initiation. This identity shift will isolate you. Not dramatically, subtly. You will speak less, reveal less, react less. Some will interpret it as distance. Some will test you. Some will withdraw. Let them. Selection pressure is active. Those who thrived on your emotional availability will feel the shift immediately. They preferred you accessible, predictable, responsive. Now you are measured, calibrated, unmoved. Isolation is not rejection. It is filtration. The weak detach first. The strategic recalibrate around you. 6. The emergence of the sovereign operator. What replaces the performative self? A sovereign operator. He does not seek the center of the room. The room orbits him when necessary. He does not argue every misunderstanding. He allows ambiguity to create leverage. He does not chase alliance. He builds gravity. He is not antisocial. He is non-needy. And that distinction changes everything. Because need is visible, even when unspoken. When you remove need, you remove your primary vulnerability. 7. The ruthless truth. The world does not reward transparency. It rewards structure. It does not elevate the most expressive. It elevates the most controlled. Your old identity was shaped for social harmony. Your new identity is shaped for strategic survival. One seeks belonging. The other builds hierarchy. You cannot operate as both. Choose. The performative self must end. Only then can you occupy your real position without apology, without explanation, without emotional leakage. Most men will never make this shift. They would rather be liked than respected. You now understand the cost of that decision. You still believe there are moments when the game pauses. There are none. Hierarchy does not sleep. Perception does not reset. Selection does not forget. Every room you enter, every post you publish, Every reaction you display is recorded, if not digitally then. Psychologically, human beings maintain invisible ledgers. Your composure, your volatility, your hunger, your restraint, it accumulates. Reputation compounds the same way interest does, slowly, quietly, relentlessly. One controlled year can elevate you. One uncontrolled moment can redefine you. And here is the truth most men underestimate. Selection is always active, not just in dating, not just in business, not just in leadership, in alliances, in promotions, in invitations, in opportunities you never even hear about. You are being filtered constantly. Who is stable enough to trust? Who is composed enough to represent? Who is scarce enough to value? Who is dangerous enough to respect? Selection does not announce itself. It observes silently. The most dangerous downgrade is not public humiliation. It is quiet deselection. You are no longer consulted, no longer included, no longer considered, and no one explains why. Because perception already decided. Most men believe they can fix it later. Later rarely comes. Once you are categorized, emotional, reactive, approval-seeking, unstable, that label becomes the lens through which all future behavior is interpreted. Confidence becomes overcompensation. Silence becomes sulking. Assertiveness becomes insecurity. The frame hardens. This is why discipline must be permanent, not intense for a week, not strategic when convenient. Permanent. Hierarchy punishes inconsistency more than weakness. A volatile man cannot hold rank. An unpredictable man cannot anchor structure. Selection favors reliability under pressure. Understand this clearly. You are not competing with loud men. You are competing with disciplined men. Men who do not overshare, do not rush, do not react impulsively, do not explain unnecessarily, do not seek visible validation. They are not dramatic. They are durable. Durability wins long games. The arena does not reward bursts of dominance. It rewards sustained composure. And here is the elite truth. You do not rise because you demand status. You rise because others feel stable around you. Stability is rare. Scarcity creates gravity. Gravity creates authority. But gravity can collapse instantly. One public loss of control. One desperate chase for approval. One defensive spiral. One emotional leak under tension. That is sometimes enough, because hierarchy is not built on fairness. It is built on perception, and perception is unforgiving. You are always signaling, even when silent, even when relaxed, even when you think it doesn't matter. It always matters. The final warning is not paranoia. It is precision. If you want sovereignty, you must live as if evaluation never stops. Because it doesn't. Selection is watching. Reputation is compounding. Hierarchy is calibrating. The question is not whether you are being judged. The question is whether you are disciplined enough to be judged well.